want. Baby, all I want is you.
Okay, guys, we're back. The camera cut off. But I was saying that one of those days we spent time apart for like 5 or 6 hours. He was down here, I was upstairs. And it just got to a point where we was just like, yeah, no, something has to give. Because we don't usually do that. That was the end of last year. So we've grown much more this year too. Enough to say that now, if we're upset, we try not to go to bed without talking to each other, or, you know, breaking the ice, or, you know, not necessarily resolving whatever the issue is at hand, because that's not realistic all the time. Sometimes you're just not going to come to a solution or an agreement on
you
every.
also can agree to disagree as well.
You can, but
always agree on everything.
That's true, but I'm saying realistically, there are times that we go to sleep where we're not fully, not saying we're not speaking to each other, but we're not, still haven't come to an agreement. Cause that just happened yesterday. Like, we didn't go to bed upset or not talking to each other.
She did.
But yesterday's disagreement carried over into today. So then we was able to talk about it today, basically. So I'm saying, like, that time, like during COVID, we were just in a different space where we didn't know how to communicate with each other. So, which brings me to the point that I was trying to make, that I was like, okay, I want to go back to therapy, and we can do couples therapy, but I also want to go on a personal journey to start full-time therapy. And so that's what I did. January, I want to say around January.
First
I probably was doing my research during that time when we were sick, around the end of December, because I already knew that was my intention for the year, to show up for myself. Again, I didn't know what that looked like. I didn't know if that was therapy. I do remember that my first session was January 7th. So, like I said, it was fast. I've been in therapy from January 7th all the way. I just had my last session of the year, this past Wednesday. I've been in therapy every week on Wednesday, like clockwork. We've missed a few sessions because, you know, her going on vacation, or her not feeling too well. She was sick one time.
We went on vacation.
But never on my terms. Like, I literally showed up every week faithfully. I did take a vacation in June. But I think I had my session that week.
Because she ended up pushing it forward.
Yes, she's very flexible. Like, she was a godsend. I knew that God aligned it for me to meet her, because she has went above and beyond. Granted, she get paid for it, but she also has, like, been flexible. Like, weeks that she knows she going on vacation, she'll allow me to have therapy early. Or even this past week, we was going out of town for Christmas. She was literally driving home to visit family, and we got a phone session. We talked for about 50 minutes on the phone just so I can have my session. So yeah, that's just how serious I take it. And so now I just want to give a brief give y'all an idea of what to look forward to in the new year from us. And I want to ask my husband, because we did do couples counseling. We had maybe about 5 sessions of couples therapy. We didn't do couples therapy full time. We just did a few sessions
just to
see how it would go, to see if she would be a good fit for us as a couple, because she's the same one. My therapist gave us our couple sessions too, and she's also our oldest son's therapist too. He's been in therapy too since January. So yeah, she's been great. And so we did our couple sessions to sort through or deal with COVID.
Our couples therapy was much later during the year.
Yeah, maybe April, May, maybe around that time. And it wasn't like week to week. It was like a session here, a session there. And we look forward to starting couples therapy again in the new year.
And again, guys, just because you're going through therapy doesn't mean there's something wrong. It's to prevent something going wrong.
Not just prevention either, but it's also
It's helpful.
It's helpful. And my goal in encouraging my husband to go to therapy, for us to do couples therapy, was so that he'll be encouraged to get his own personal therapist and go to therapy himself individually. Because I feel like it's necessary. Our Black men are taught to be strong. They're taught to suppress their emotions. They're taught that they can't cry, that it's weak. It's a sign of weakness if you cry. And that's so unhealthy. Our Black men need to be emotionally available. And I see with that, and being in therapy this whole year, I've learned so much. I've learned so much about myself. I've learned so much about relationships with other people and just how people navigate life and the trauma that they've endured, that they don't even necessarily know that it was trauma because it was normal. And so I just think our Black men need to get in therapy and unpack their childhood trauma, even like gang banging and witnessing people getting shot and killed. It was so normalized, so they didn't realize that those experiences were traumatic for them. Even just seeing people on the corner selling drugs, whatever, however you grew up, because trauma is not necessarily event. Trauma is a mindset. You think a certain way, you only see that way. That's traumatic. Like, for you not to have a different viewpoint on things, a different perspective, because it keeps you stuck. It keeps you stagnant and not growing. And so, yeah, that was my goal in trying to encourage him to get his own personal therapist. And so I just want him to share with you all briefly, because we have more videos to come and I don't want to make this too long, but briefly, in his experience in watching me go to therapy this year, how that impacted him and his decision to eventually, ultimately go into therapy individually for himself.
Yeah, I still haven't came to a conclusion. Eventually, I want to get into therapy, but I'm not sure when that's gonna be. But my experience watching my wife go through therapy has been interesting, to say the least. Watching her go through it has been tough and great, if that makes sense.
Because I was going to say, like, tough. Why you say tough?
Because just watching you, the emotional roller coaster that it's been.
Okay, guys, we're back. The camera cut off again, so we're gonna finish up this quick thought, and then we'll catch y'all in the next video. He was pretty much saying how much of a emotional roller coaster he experienced me having, watching me in therapy. Cause you're on a healing journey. Is one day you're up, you're in a good space. The next day you.
Boy, it was a lot of tears.
Yeah. Because for me, I'm also going to get into exactly what it is that I talk about in my sessions. Because I'm
once we get to 1,000 subscribers.
I'm going to therapy for multiple reasons, and childhood trauma is one of them. And so you just imagine unpacking the things that you went through as a kid, and learning your triggers and navigating your feelings and getting to a space where you get comfortable with expressing your feelings and using your voice that you wasn't allowed to use as a kid, and setting boundaries. And so again, healing it's a journey. There's highs and lows. So for him, it was kind of intimidating.
I know. Well, it wasn't intimidating. I won't say intimidating.
What would you call it then? Because it made you nervous and hesitant to start your own individual journey.
I mean, it's that amongst other things. It's not like, because when you're going through therapy, you also got to relive all the trauma. And
so that makes it kind of intimidating for you to start the process.
I'm saying, but I won't say intimidated me watching you go through it.
But
okay. Originally it's about me watching you go through it.
Right.
So I won't say, I guess you can say it.
Puts him in a space of vulnerability too, and Black men don't like to be vulnerable, because again, they're not given that safe space to be vulnerable. They're not taught that it's okay to be vulnerable. And so I just wanted him to give his take on, you know, watching me go through the journey. And so,
And I'll explain more in detail as we, you know, go through it, because it's a lot more.
but overall, would you say, because him watching my journey, even though he's not in therapy full time, I hear him telling people, like, advocating for therapy. I hear him, you know.
Oh yeah, I think therapy is great.
There's benefits to it. It's not just
I think it's great.
the process of healing. There are benefits to healing. I've become a better person. I've become a better wife. I learned how to set boundaries with not just my friends or people in the outside world, but I've learned to set boundaries. We've learned to set boundaries with each other. We've learned to set boundaries with our kids, because one thing I did learn in therapy was that you should have boundaries with everybody that you come in contact with in your life. Everybody that you're in a relationship with. In order to have a healthy relationship, it starts with a healthy relationship with yourself. In order to have a healthy relationship with yourself, you have to be able to show up for yourself. You have to be able to speak up for yourself and use your voice, and not be afraid to use your voice and feel like, well, if I say that, I'm gonna step on somebody's toes, or if I say this, they're gonna run away, or I'm gonna lose them. I've come to terms with being okay with losing people. I just feel like those are not my people. If me setting boundaries with you, because the boundaries are not to shut people out. Boundaries are for you. They're for the health of the relationship. And if it intimidates people when you set boundaries, those are not your people. Simple as that. That's the conclusion I've come to. I just wanted to give you a brief snippet on how 2022 has been for us. I can say that I showed up for myself. That one intention I set for myself, I exceeded it. By far exceeded it. I've grown so much this year. I've learned so much about myself. Again, my therapist, she be wild. And I hope eventually I can get her on the video with me. We'll see in the future. But she shared with me, she expressed to me, like, Janice, you're the most, I don't even know how to put it, but I've grown the most out of all the people that she has a huge, like, 40 people that she counsel each week. And so she like, I haven't seen growth in anyone this year the way I've seen it in you. Even with us, like our marriage, she like, your marriage gives me hope, because she's, you know, not married, and she's just like, it gives me hope because I haven't experienced or saw such healthy dynamic, especially for our age. She is younger than me. And so, you know, for our generation,
I'm also younger there.
You know, it's not a thing. It's not, if it needs to be talked about more, I'll say that, because I'm not gonna say it's not happening. It just needs to be normalized and talked about more, so that people will know that healthy relationships do exist. Therapy, there's nothing wrong with it. It's helpful.
Okay,
it's
got it.
necessary.
Got it.